What's up, man? Chilling, man. Good to see you. See you, bro. It's been a while. Yeah, man. Fuck, I got a story for you, bro. Go, you know? I really believe when you create a dish, you know, if you feel something when you eat that dish and you created that dish with a story from, from a beginning, middle, and an ending, right? Everyone subconsciously is gonna feel that story as well. They may not know that story, but they know that that story exists in that food, in that dish, right? Because I felt that story when I was creating it, and then when I ate it, I felt that story as well, and it meant something to me. As a chef, to bring new dishes and new flavors and new ideas to DaiLo, and to my cooking until, just my repertoire and even my arsenal. When I came back, I come on there and inject some of that in there, start putting some programs into place, start getting my kitchen, like my senior guys to, start creating a little bit more, going like, hey, you want to do a dish next week? Come up with some, let me taste it, right? And let's see what you got. Maybe we can kind of play around with it together, right? And kind of work on some things. When I'm in a place, I kind of always look at all these different flavor profiles and all these different techniques, right? And I kind of want to add them on to find that kind of lineage in my heritage, right? And the way that I cook, and find that lineage within, Asian culture, with this dish I had in Spain or in France or in Japan or in Taiwan or anywhere in the world. My grandmother, she was an amazing cook. She made everything from scratch. So she was making noodles in the basement, on top of her dryer. She have a pasta maker and a pasta thing. My grandfather was this weird, crazy genius. He created this took I don't know, some type of motor that he found, right? And attached it, with pulleys, to the pasta machine. Every summer, we'd sit with my grandparents, and, me and my brother were horrible. We'd always fight, right? So the only way they could stop us from fighting is by separating us, right? And making us cook shit. Oh. Some kids play with Play-Doh, we played with dumplings, The Hakka people were very nomadic people. My mom's South African, my dad's Indian, and what they did was created, Asian flavors and Asian food with no Asian products, right? Fortunately, here in Canada, we got a lot of Asian products, right? But we also have a lot of local products. So I try and combine those two things, using local products and creating Asian flavors. One of my biggest influences, was when I was in Australia, and I was working at Long Grain. This is one of the best Thai restaurants, right? And learning the spectrum of flavors, that hit on all these different levels with different textures, right? And created this whole kind of mouthfeel and this whole kind of experience that you kind of feel when you eat, right? And when I realized that you can create those same flavors with French cuisine, right? That was kind of a game changer for me. It's because I was French trained, growing up, I didn't really look at my Asian heritage and the food of my culture to be, at a high standard like French food. There needs to be a respect and understanding of the original dish and the original culture, right? And that's really important when you're creating or kind of riffing on something that, that doesn't belong to you, right? Or something that you have to understand these dishes and the culture behind those dishes, even the history behind those dishes, really kind of helps you understand where you can go with these dishes. When I actually learned how to cook and understand flavors and understood ingredients, right? Having that arsenal of wow, Asian flavors, you hit all different, spectrums and opposites, right? And those opposites create, fourth dimensional flavors, And when you create that, when you understand that and you can create, dishes in the French, kind of realm and adding butter to things, which adds that extra kind of layer of richness and textures and umamis, right? Really, really elevated, my quality of cuisine.
Here at DaiLo, we do have the concept of modern Asian food, but there's no limits, right? There's no rules here. We're kind of expected to do the unexpected. We're expected to use ingredients that other people don't use. We've got a wide range of techniques that we can take from, Western, Eastern techniques, and it's kind of just a seamless workspace in that regard. Yeah, it comes pretty natural.
My first cook job, tell you the truth, like, I didn't realize I was cooking and like learning how to cook and like learning all these like techniques. So when I got into cooking, it was like straight out of high school, and you know, I wasn't really focused. You know, I didn't have a plan. You know, so you know, I took a cooking job at CN Tower because you know, if I worked at CN Tower, we could do free laser tag. So I mean, like, you know, it's like I got into cooking for the wrong reasons. When I got into cooking, you know, like I did my first day stage, and it was with Brad Long at the CN Tower. One of the chefs would show me, you know, it's like, okay, well, you know, you're gonna make, you know, 50 of these, right? I think it was like chocolate mousse or something, like in these like cones. You know, he'd show me once, and I'd just go off and I'd do it, right? And then you know, the chef would come back and he'd like look, he's like, you fucking do these? Right? I was like, yeah. Did I do them okay? And he's like, this is crazy. I didn't expect you to like finish all these like, you know, in the time that you had, and you know, you just showed me once, and it was actually the first time I realized, you know, like I was a visual learner. I felt like I learned that I was actually good at something, you know. So you know, I got into CN Tower and you know, worked there for a summer. They sent me to George Brown. When I was at George Brown, I got my externship at Scaramouche, and then stayed at Scaramouche for like 9 years, and kind of like that really was a foundation, you know, like my beginnings, and like made me fall in love passionately, you know, with you know, with cooking and restaurants and you know, everything that comes with it. My team's my family, man. It's crazy because, you know, after 10 years, and you know, I've gotten a lot of these opportunities, and I've been on film a lot, I've done a lot of media things, and people see my face all the time. All these other guys are the reasons why, you know, this restaurant has been here for so long. You know, it's like, I'm just, you know, like, I'm just the guy that started it. These are the guys that are, you know, making this place a legacy. These guys, like, hold it down. You know, they allow me to do this traveling, and you know, and come back with, you know, some new creative ideas. The family that I have here and the staff, you know, like they mean the world to me. You know, they're my rock.
You opened up Café Renée. Everyone's talking about it. Everyone's taking a picture of the ravioli.
Like getting back to my roots, you know, because I started off in French. This was like French bistro, so you know, I kind of wanted to kind of really re-examine. Yeah, it was amazing. It was so fun. Like, you know, creating a menu of like all of the things that I fell in love with when I first started cooking food. You know, like, you know, beef tartares and, you know, escargot, like, you know, like bourguignon. You know, like all the classics. Right, so it was, man, for me, it was like me like a little kid again, and now I have like all these little bits of arsenal that I had from, you know, from all my travels, and also like the style of cooking that I have here in DaiLo, adding those little kind of like tweaks to, you know, really extend the flavors and, you know, give the food legs, and also keeping in mind it's King Street, and it's, you know, like it's young and it's fresh and vibrant, and you know, like social media is like one of those things that exists, you know, like especially in that kind of domain. So when I was creating the menu, everything, you know, I had in mind was like, okay, like let's make it super delicious, like so when they eat it, it's gonna be like crazy. But also let's make it Instagrammable. So like, let's find really cool ways of, you know, making it simple, but also making it look really cool. You know, like something's gonna hook, right? And you know, like at that moment, you know, you want people to talk about it because, you know, like you need, like, you know, when you open a restaurant and you're new and there's things, you need to have that one thing, right, that somebody talks about. Yeah. You know, I'm gonna start from the beginning with the Big Mac Bao because I think it's a cool story. The whole reason the Big Mac Bao became about was, you know, like my mom makes baos at home, right? And so she was like, usually at home we fill them with pork, right, barbecue pork, and you know, steam them, or like a black bean paste, and then she steams them, and you know, she freezes them and gives it to the family. So she had to like 2 of these buns, right, in the steamer, right? And I'm looking at these buns. She's got 2, so I just like grabbed one and I, popped it in my mouth, right? And it didn't have any meat or filling in it, right? She's just testing the dough, right? So I bit into this bun, and like I'm looking at him like, man, like this tastes like something this tastes something so familiar, right? Without like the meat or filling, right? It immediately kind of like hit me as like, this tastes like a McDonald's bun. So like the steamed bun like looks different, but like all the ingredients, like the sweetness and the yeastiness and all that stuff was exactly the same level as like McDonald's. And I was like looking at this thing, I'm like, I'm gonna make you taste like a Big Mac, right? So, like after that, I did like 6 days of like buying McDonald's every single day and like, deconstructing every element of that Big Mac and trying to get every element of that exactly right and figure out, my own recipe. So we make everything in that little, steam bun. It was really just to create a little bit of a buzz. I didn't realize like 10 years later, it would be like, a Toronto iconic dish. Recipes live as legacies as well. My Hakka brown wontons, my parents make it for the restaurant. It's my grandmother's recipe. And when I put it on menu, it was an homage to my grandparents because they passed away before I was able to open the restaurant. Just a simple bowl of dumplings, right? The exact way that I had it as a kid. I have a nephew, he's not gonna cook, right? He's probably not gonna carry on that recipe, right? But now that recipe gets to live on, right? Through my other cooks that have worked with me and I've worked with that recipe, knows how special that is. And that's a special thing too, man.